When we think about workplace safety, our minds usually jump to things like hard hats or those bright yellow warning signs. The obvious stuff, right? But real safety, well, it goes so much deeper than that. It's not just about dodging accidents. It's about building a whole system that's designed to protect everyone's health and well-being, day in and day out. So, let's actually dig into what that system looks like.
Here's the thing. Workplace hazards are often hiding in plain sight. They're tucked away in the routine tasks we do every single day without even thinking about it. The risk isn't always some big dramatic event. A lot of the time, it's the slow, quiet buildup from things like a poorly set up desk, repetitive motion, or even just way too much pressure from your job that can lead to serious long-term health problems.
Okay, let's take something as common as manual handling. Just, carrying stuff. Using guidance from the health and safety executive, we can see it's not as simple as the box is heavy. The real risk is a mix of things. How much does it weigh? How far do you have to carry it? And hey, what's the floor like that you're walking on? So the solutions aren't just be careful, they're systematic. Things like let's redesign the packaging, or let's use a trolley, or just make sure the floor is actually clear and stable.
Now, what about using tools? This is a totally different kind of risk. It's not about an instant injury, it's about the invisible hazard of vibration. An airsoft, for example, can hit a vibration emission of 15 meters per second squared. What does that number even mean? Well, it's a measure of acceleration. It's basically how intensely that tool is shaking your body. An orbital sander is at 12. Over time, that constant, intense shaking can cause some really serious and permanent health issues. Suddenly, these numbers make an invisible risk feel very, very real.
So you've got risks from lifting, risks from tool vibration, from chemicals, from noise, even psychological strain from impossible demands. The list just keeps going. And that brings up a huge question. With all these different potential hazards, how on earth can any organization create an environment that's genuinely safe for its people? I mean, is that even possible?
Well, the answer, according to groups like the International Labor Organization, isn't to have a ridiculously long list of rules for every single thing that could possibly go wrong. Instead, it's all about having a proactive framework. Think of it like a blueprint for managing safety. It's a process you can use to deal with any hazard, whether it's a physical thing or a problem with how a job is designed.
And here's the core of that process. It's this continuous three-step loop. First, you assess. You figure out what could cause harm. Second, you implement controls. You actually do something about it. And third, and this is key, you review and monitor. You check to see if your fix is working and if anything's changed. It's never a one-and-done thing. It's a constant cycle of getting better.
Okay, so when we talk about that second step, implementing controls, there's a really critical idea to get your head around. Not all safety measures are created equal. Far from it. There's a clear, internationally recognized pecking order for what works best, and it's called the hierarchy of control. And here it is. Seriously, this pyramid is a total game changer for how you think about safety. The best, most effective solutions are right at the top. Let's imagine you have a really noisy machine. The absolute best thing you can do is elimination. Just get rid of the machine altogether. Can't do that? Okay, then you try substitution. Replace it with a much quieter one. If that's not an option, you move down to engineering controls, like building a soundproof box around it. Even lower than that are organizational measures, like rotating staff so nobody's exposed for too long. And then, way down at the very bottom, the absolute last resort is PPE, giving the worker earmuffs.
And this is the point that you really have to remember. PPE is always the last line of defense, never the first. Why? Well, think about it. Giving someone a mask or gloves doesn't actually get rid of a hazard. The danger is still right there in the workplace. This is such a fundamental shift in thinking. It's about moving away from just protecting the worker from the danger and toward removing the danger from the workplace itself.
Now, building and maintaining this kind of safety system, well, it can't just be a top-down order from management. For it to really work, it has to be a genuine partnership. A truly safe workplace culture is built on a foundation of collaboration, where everybody understands their role and is actively involved.
And here's what those complementary roles look like. Employers are responsible for the big picture stuff, assessing the risks, providing training, and putting those control measures in place. But workers have duties that are just as important, following the safety rules, using equipment the right way, and, this is so critical, reporting any hazards they spot. The whole system only functions when both sides are pulling their weight.
And this isn't just a nice idea or good practice, it's a fundamental right.
This quote from the International Labor Organization really hammers home just how important it is to involve workers. I mean, after all, the people doing the job every single day are the ones who have the best understanding of the real-world risks, whether they're physical or psychological. Consulting them isn't just being polite, it's absolutely essential to an effective safety system.
But what happens when, even with the best systems in the world, a worker has to be away because of an illness or injury? A complete approach to health and safety doesn't just stop at prevention. It also has to include a clear, supportive way to help people come back to work.
And just so we're all on the same page, guidance from the UK's National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, or NICE, defines a long-term sickness absence as any absence that lasts for 4 weeks or more. That's really the point where a more structured, supportive approach becomes so important.
So how do you create that kind of supportive return? Well, this is basically a roadmap for doing it with empathy and practicality. It all starts with something simple, keeping in touch. Then you move on to creating a formal return-to-work plan and being flexible enough to make adjustments to someone's hours or duties. The whole key is to proactively offer support and just check in regularly. It's about treating someone's return to work with the same systematic care you'd use for preventing hazards in the first place.
And this really brings us full circle, back to our central idea. From spotting those hidden risks in everyday tasks, to using that powerful hierarchy of controls, to supporting colleagues when they need it most, none of this happens by accident. A safe, healthy, and supportive workplace is the result of intentional, systematic design.
So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. Take a look at your own workplace through this lens. Do you see the signs of a proactive system? Is there a clear process for finding and controlling risks? Is collaboration actually encouraged? In short, is your workplace safety something that's been built by design, or is it just being left to chance?